It's time to buy land, y'all, for building more intentionally. Everywhere you look, it's clear that there's a lot of concerns. We've got COVID concerns. We don't know whether or not we are going to get over this hump. People are concerned about density and about how quickly the virus can spread because it's so highly contagious. And what we know is when you're talking about a highly contagious pandemic, it is going to have a bigger impact on dense areas. So we have to look at our housing situation in as a whole when it comes to our health and as a public health issue. Not only that, we've got climate change happening. We got wildfires in California and Oregon that is actually dictating relocation trends. People are, literally looking at relocating, not just for climate change, but because of affordable housing. We're in the midst of an affordable housing crisis. We have more buyers than we have sellers at the moment. So this market and all of the conditions around it, we are going to probably see a huge influx of even we have sellers at the moment. So this market and all of the conditions around and food insecurity, land is the direct opportunity to solve that problem. We got to buy land. Social injustice. We have been facing high crime, high policing, and it creates a cycle of prison industrial complexes. And until we buy land and change how the structures of our communities actually look, we are going to continue to see social uprising and social injustice. We have to change what community looks like to really have an impact on how we prison and police our communities. Health disparities. This pandemic, again, the reason why certain demographics were disproportionately affected by COVID is because of our lifestyles. We don't walk enough, you guys. We're not living in well-being. We're not spending time in outdoors, forest bathing. You probably don't even know what forest bathing is, but look it up. I promise you, you will
We're gonna come
be
back to that, Ash.
you will enjoy forest bathing, right? So buying land is genuinely a way and a means for us to intentionally create a better world. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. And I want to get into my little 5-step outline of building intentionally. So, what I'm going to cover this evening is the land, the team, the money, the build, and the charter. I'm not going to go very deeply into the charter because that's a whole lot, but I am going to touch on it just a bit. But let's get started with a bit of insight before I start about. But if we're going to talk about developing land, if we're going to talk about buying back the block, we have to have a bit of insight, a bit of strategy. When we talk about group economics, we have to really have a mindset shift. So one of the things I want to just get us kind of positioned with, one, I hope you got a notebook. If you don't, go get it, because it's about to be some note-taking moments coming, okay? If you don't leave with nothing else tonight, if you have no intention on buying any kind of land whatsoever, if you don't know if you'll ever develop any pieces of land, if you don't want to even consider living in community or buying and building the block, any of that, take this with you tonight. There are 7 habits of highly effective people. And for you to be able to actually see something as big as buying land, developing it into a subdivision, into a mixed use project, into a full blown community, an eco village, whatever it is that your heart is desiring to do with the land that you want to purchase, you're going to have some insight and some strategy. And your disposition in life is going to allow you to be more successful versus less successful in this pursuit, because it will be easy to fail and really to give up is what happens. You don't really fail, you give up when you get so many challenges. So if you don't have the right insight, the right strategy, you're going to give up when those challenges come. So I want to talk about these 7 habits first before we get into the class, because I think mindset has everything to do with building land and buying land and developing land and eventually building a city, right? So number 1, be proactive, period. Pooh. Begin with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind is essential in buying land and developing it. If you don't start with the end in mind, you're going to lose your shirt. You're not going to have an exit strategy. You're not going to be able to actually manifest the actual benefits, the profits, the things that you wanted from your land if you don't start with the end in mind. Put first things first. You can't tackle everything at once, and your core values and that end that you have in mind, that ultimate result that you want, whether it's some sum of money, whether it's a community that's intentional and loving and thriving, whether it's creating a space and a place where your children feel safe and then you can pass it down as an inheritance. Put first things first, because when you come up with challenges, if you remember those things that are priorities to you, you won't allow the challenges, the petty arguments, the things that will happen with contractors and permitters and all of the different things that go on. You won't let it deter you, and you won't get caught up on things that easily beset you, because you know what the end in mind is and you put that first thing first, right? 4, think win-win. You're not going to be able to develop a piece of land unless you have a win-win attitude, a win-win mindset. It's not just what's in it for me, and it's never a sum zero game. When you're talking about win-win, it doesn't look like I beat this guy and that guy's a loser. You can't negotiate that way, and you can't build community that way. You have to have a win-win mindset of, I get something, my brother gets something, I get something, my contractor gets something, I get something, my county gets something, I get something, my economic development authority gets something. It's a win-win for everybody. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Before you go rah, 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 make sure that you understand why things are happening in the fashion of which they're happening. It could be something that came up in your build or your project that was unforeseeable. So to understand first is always a great practice when you're talking about going through this path of buying and developing land. And then to be understood, make sure that you are speaking up for yourself, that you are keeping your core principles and the core values of your project in mind with the people you are working with. Synergize. Look for ways that allow things to get momentum, to work together seamlessly. Strategic partnerships, people who are just a good fit. I have some great stories that I don't even have time to share, but anybody that we have brought onto our Freedom Georgia Initiative project has had good synergy. And we're very strategic about never working with somebody we don't like, we don't want to look at, or that we think is not going to have the common goal. Because if I'm going to do business with you, I want to make sure I feel good when I'm doing that business. And when you're doing the business of buying land and developing it, you're going to be in business with a person for a long time, at least 18 to 24 months. And you want to make sure that there's synergy with the partners and the consultants and the contractors and the people you choose on your journey. Sharpen the saw. Always personally develop yourself, personally develop your team, find new innovative information and ways to do things. So keep that strategy in mind. It will serve you for what I'm getting ready to teach tonight. It will serve you if you get off the YouTube right now. Take it with you, okay? And that was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's one of the books that is my suggested reading in life by Stephen Covey. let's get into it. The land. I'm going to talk about why buy land. We're going to discuss rural versus urban, the process, best features, and things to avoid. Just so you can see in the corner over there, that is my little land that I have purchased with my good friends and family. And that was our first event, the Big Black Camp Out. So you're getting to get a little glimpse of where we are beginning our development. It's got beautiful views, and I just love it every time I go.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.